Okay, welcome everybody. I am here with the one and only Siliconsecure. This guy is one of the biggest whales on Veve, massive collector in the real world, and we're so thrilled to have him here on the show. I've personally learned a lot from him. I know you're all going to learn a lot from him. So thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chad. Thanks for having me on your show. I mean, it's an honor, right? You've got one of the best channels out there. I've used your content, watched your videos early. Was grateful when you made stuff and kind of gave me some information on the different collectibles, and I could decide, what do I want to make a move on, and what do I not want to make a move on, or just what's good about that or this, right? So I enjoyed your perspective.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, it's crazy because we only started off with a few subs, so I was glad somebody was watching me out there.
Yeah, and you and your brother, I know your brother's off to college, right? But like, yeah, it was cool seeing like the family dynamic there, which was kind of cool.
It's true. I do miss him. I still chat with him sometimes. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
what's your perspective on this? But like you said, he's got other things he's got to worry about now, and you and I have to stay inside this app and are addicted to it. So
We're all in, man. I saw
yeah,
you with your waltz, dropping two waltz, and you got that, what was it, 100 something mint?
yeah,
Is that what
122, which
wow.
I was pretty thrilled about that. I really wanted a sub 100, but you know what? At the end of the day, if you got a wallet, even if you just have a wallet, you're good.
I mean, you got one. People didn't really know where Walt was going to land. I think a lot of the whales expected Walt to land at a higher price than it landed at first, and
Right?
so they were gem ready, obviously.
Yeah.
And the whales have the inventory to be gem ready and say, okay, let me just put 20 G's aside for Walt. And so if I get one or I get two or I get three, I think they were pleasantly surprised when they saw it come out at 1.5 to 2 to 5K kind of range.
I think we all were. Like, I think I did not expect that. I think looking back, I would have tried to buy three at the floor because I
Yeah.
just did not even expect it to fly, like to go that low and even have an opportunity to buy in, right?
Yeah. I was expecting 3 to 5K out the gate. So
Yeah.
I saw it below that. I just started mint hunting right away and trying to figure out what I can get. So my first walt was a 559. And then,
Oh, nice.
I ended up getting a 1300, which, obviously 13, we all know the significance of that for Mickey. If you guys don't know, 13, the address of like Disneyland Resorts is like 1313, which is the 13th letter of the alphabet M. So 13 does have some significance, in the Mickey Mouse. So if you think of 1313 as the address, that's Mickey Mouse's initials, right? So there's an example of kind of all the hidden little gems that Walt had, and I think he got married on like July 13th, whatever year it was. There was a lot of, there's a whole article about that, just that number, and of course 33. We all know about that and the history of that, and Walt being a Mason or Freemason, and kind of like Club 33. And I've been fortunate to have been there once at Disneyland, not realizing at the time like what I was doing, as a corporate event, not realizing that this was a kind of a special thing. But now I realize that, so I've at least been there.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Honestly, I'm thrilled to have you on. I know we've been chatting for a while. When you said you're ready to come on, I was like, no way. I know that you've got just shy, I believe, of 150 Todds.
So up until it's kind of funny because I've been pretty straight. Like, I'm not selling below my 150 Todds. I'm Mr. 2%. I like that title, right? But at the same time, Disney Week really changed things a lot. And also Todd is a stable currency on Veve, right? So if you look at what people do, they almost use Todd as a savings account. And then if they need to go buy something, they go floor a Todd or two or three, and then they go buy what they need to buy, and then they work their way back into a Todd, right? So, it's a dangerous game to play, which is why I've resisted for so long. So I haven't, I had 160 at one point, sold down to 150. I bought one even at the lows at like $500 or something to get to 151, and then recently with the kind of the events of Disney Week, it's epic, right? So it's not like I'm going to walk away from that opportunity. I didn't want to sell all my other stacks, so like I had 80 plus Joe Mads. Now I'm down to like around 40-ish or 30-ish, somewhere around there, 35, 38. I had 50 plus Joker FAs. Like I've taken some of my inventory down because I didn't want to hit one inventory all at once.
Right.
But I have enough where a lot of that is store bought, right? So what was cool about Veve is I got my family into it. Once I learned what this was, and I realized kind of everything going on here, first thing I did was call my family and say, hey, and I had a conference call. I'm like, hey, you guys need to listen to me right now. You need to take me serious. just everything you're doing, stop and pay attention. And it took me being that confident and being that direct to get their attention. But even then, as everybody knows, when you first find out about an NFT, you're like, what is this? Why am I buying this? Why would I put money into it? And the first thing I got was like, I can't get money out. When can I get money out? And not just really understanding that you're owning an asset and that you're buying into a company that has integrity, that the founders have really done a lot of work. David Yu's a true hardcore collector. Dan's hardcore on the technology side. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. They've taken care of their customers. Yes, have they had issues? Absolutely. I mean, what new technology hasn't had issues? Right. The fact that they're moving at the pace that they're moving at just blows me away. I mean, you look at how fast they do updates, how fast they respond to customers. When they make a mistake, they make it right. Like I've gotten 2 NFTs from mistakes that Veve's made. And I wouldn't even say that like they're necessarily mistakes. They're just like servers overwhelmed, crashing, and oops, I gave you too many NFTs. Yeah. So now I need to go fix that in the system, and we'll make it right for you, right? That's integrity, and that's what you want with your founders. That's what you want in a company. People are going to take care of their customers. Now, are they ramping up? Are they figuring things out? Yeah, because when they started Veve, they had 7 people. Think about that, Chad. 7 people. And I heard David Yu's origin story when he came in the spaces on Twitter. And he came in and he jumped in an AMA that was hosted by the community. And he told his origin story, what kind of a hustler he was. He went in, he was a little teenager. He's like, how can I make some money? I'm gonna go get stamps. And I see that tourists want to buy stamps. I'm gonna go get stamps. I'm gonna take them off the envelope. So ones that don't have marks, I'm going to put those together. I'm going to package those up. I'm going to take those to the stationery store. And that was his hustle. That was his first hustle. Then to move and to do that. And then obviously before he opened his store, he made a flip, I think, on some Star Wars stuff. He said he bought for, under 1,000 and sold for like 5,000 or 6,000. And then he bought another crate of stuff. And then I think it was like some kind of game, card game. And he got stuck with all the stuff. So he opened up a store. Like, I mean, this is all, very early years. And then this guy's the Pokemon, he's a licensed Pokemon guy for his whole country and region. I mean,
right.
How do you say no? How do you not invest in that? How is that not compelling?
It's so true. And it's still so funny to me when somebody's like, hey, well, you can't cash out your gems yet. It's a scam. And I'm like, you think getting a Disney license, they would ever put up with something like this? Like, it's just amazing that people can't understand that still.
I would tell them one thing. I would say Disney is a kind of company that knows about you before you know about them. So if they come to you, they're going to do a whole background check on you, your family, everything. They're going to figure out what you're about, who you are, and they're going to third party reference you all day long. So, they're going to know what's up. And, for them to sign that extended contract through Marvel, we know that was obviously Disney signing it in some way or another. And then to see the Disney drop, I mean, it just shows they're committed to Veve. And, a lot of people were upset about this Disney drop and the Simpsons drop and how it went, wrong. But I would say that, my personal opinion was a lot of people got that drop because it went wrong. So, we obviously have issues with other issues on the app where people use auto clickers and people are using technology to try to get ahead. The latest thing, my brother landed on a drop, which, I guess I'll spill it here, was he got one of those Costco size vibrators, the big ones for like your back. He put it under his arm and he was able to tap at an unhuman rate on his phone, and he landed a drop that way. I mean, it blew me away. And I saw the the tapping, and it was fast, way faster than I could ever tap. Oh so I mean, people get creative. So I mean, someone's probably going to come out with a robotic glove that has a vibrator built in, that has a sling or something where you can tap. Wow. Yeah, there's also, I guess, clickers, physical clickers you can buy. I worked in the testing space. I know that there's stuff out there for testing mobile devices and all these other things. But like, look, here at the end of the day, Veve is going to solve the problem, right? They want it to be fair. They want it to be equitable. I know people are frustrated, but I know that Veve will do the right thing. So I'm not concerned. Will we lose some users? I'm sure we will. Will we gain a lot of users? Absolutely. I think it's patience. It's frustrating. Like on the decon drop, I got nothing on Saturday, 0. And I was like, ready. I had, just on it, right? And then was it Sunday morning? I landed a 77 on the 9 a.m. drop. So
Crazy.
that made up, and I was happy. And I was like, you know what? I hit something. And that makes you, feel recharged. But I think that the other thing is, the Veve is trying to teach everyone with this week, especially this Disney week, which was completely exhausting because of the amount of drops and the amount of money being poured out. I mean, it was an insane number of drops. What they're trying to teach us is that you can't get it all, even though you want to have it all. And us Veve collectors want to collect everything Veve. We can't have it all. We got to start picking and choosing. Right. And so therefore, when I looked at my Todd collection, I'm like, okay, I have 150. I can liquidate and get some low mint waltz right now, or I can just wait for it to pump. So I've decided to liquidate one Todd and a bunch of Joes and a bunch of Jokers, and there's people buying them. These are very liquid assets. And I've got, if you price them right, people buy them. But it's strategy. This is like a big game of chess essentially. So we're just having fun doing it.
Yeah.
And I've also stacked for the future, right? Like, you look at kind of the pillars, right, of what you should be collecting. And Todd is obviously the first, the origin piece. He was a secret rare in there. If you go look at one of those,
one of their, that. I was confused by that. I was like, wait a second, is this going to come out in the future? Yeah.
Yeah. I think they were messing around, but yeah, it's interesting.
So how did you have the wherewithal to, invest the amount that you did so early on and kind of believe in the project when other people didn't? Because I feel like that's really where the true success comes from, right? Is when you're one of the early adapters and you're putting everything into it. And, tell me a little bit about that story. And I remember you told me before that might have something about freezing your account or something like that. I'm excited to hear more about that.
I've got a collecting background, right? I collect coins. I've collected, I collect space memorabilia. I have Legos I collect. I mean, I have a wide range of collections. Like the art behind me, this artist is Fabio Napoleoni. I collected him when he was selling on eBay, and now he sells in galleries, right? So, I have pieces that I've collected, whether it be physical or, obviously all physical before Veve. But comic books, just all kinds of stuff that I like, Star Wars, obviously, different things like that. But specifically with coins, I think that really kind of taught me a lot about having patience, understanding how markets work, understanding cycles. With the coins that I collect, there's long cycles, a decade, right? 15 years. You're waiting long cycles for something to appreciate. You have to also, you have to buy it at the right price. Obviously, when you buy it, that makes a huge difference. Not buying at the hype, but buying when no one cares about it. So I also strategize on coins, specifically on certain coins. I picked one coin specifically that I said, I'm going to go all in on this coin. And there was only, I think, 2,300 mints of that coin. And I had, 90 at one point, right? And so, to think about that, a US mint coin where you have that many of the population, I had a lot of leverage. And so I understood how that market worked. I knew that coin in and out. And so that kind of carried over to Veve. When I came to Veve, I saw the same patterns, except very, very fast and accelerated, right? I saw the same cycles, but very, very fast. We went through the crypto winter or the Veve winter or whatever you want to call it. The marketplace was down for months and months, right? People were trading off app. We were hustling, as much as we could to get our collections, build up our collections, right? But I think that, that experience in coin collecting really kind of carried over, and just collecting things in general carried over into just having patience, and understanding what you're collecting in is solid. And if you believe in it, then, you're good. Trust your instincts. And so for me, when I saw Veve, as I was looking through NFTs, as I told you in a previous conversation, like, I was looking, what is the next thing in crypto? And so my first entry was Dogecoin. I made some money on Dogecoin, but I said, this can't be it. This can't be where I'm leaving my money. I can't sleep at night with money in Dogecoin, right? Like, it just, and that's obviously, a problem. So, I took my profits and I said, where can I invest, right? And then I happened to be watching CNBC. I saw Mark Cuban and Chamath talk about NFTs. And when they talked about him, I mean, I think it was Chamath, he cracked this smile, this crooked smile, like, I'm investing in NFTs. And this guy's a billionaire, right? And he's kind of ashamed of what he's investing in. And that piqued my curiosity because I'm like, what is this guy? And then Mark Cuban's also in this, and I trust Mark Cuban's opinion, watching Shark Tank, but also his origin story coming from tech, selling to Yahoo, et cetera, et cetera. So I started going on YouTube. I found, NFT sites. I minted my own NFTs, and played around with that. Obviously, wasn't successful selling them. Transferred them to a couple of famous people. Nothing really happened. So I'm like, okay, I needed this. I can't. This is the flea market of NFTs. This can't be it right here. So I kept searching. I was on YouTube for hours and hours and hours on my free time, on the weekends, evenings, and I was just looking. And then I found this video. I don't even know who it's from. I can't tell you who it's from, Chad. Yeah. But someone was like, hey, you got to check out like Veve, and they have this really cool app. And they were like whispering, like almost like there was, probably like someone sleeping in the room or something. And so I saw the screenshot of, the Veve app and the IP, and I'm like, this is it. Like I just said, this is it, without even researching Veve yet. I'm like, this is it. Wow. So obviously I did a lot of research. Who's this company? Who's Ecomi? Who's Alfred Kahn? Who are the founders? And then started watching their demo videos of them pitching their product to people right online. And they're you could see they're like trying to pitch this, and people are like, okay, thanks. You used to watch some of those early videos and like, okay, thanks. We got to end this now, but thanks for your demo. And they're all hyped up, and people are cutting them off. I'm like, dang, like why are they? This is amazing. They're showing like Batman or Nightwing in augmented reality, and they're taking pictures and they're posing, and they're showing the showroom. I'm like, this is it. This is where it's going. Gaming already kind of set the stage for that. My friend works for Roblox. He runs their infrastructure over there. And look at Roblox. They have 40 million daily active users, right? I mean, 40 million daily active users, and the amount of money that gets pumped into these games, right? And people can't take their stuff out. Like it's kind of trapped in there. And so Roblox already kind of announced they're doing something. I saw some press release about something about them getting into cryptocurrency with their assets. It makes sense. These game companies are going to turn into banks essentially, right? And they're going to hold your assets, and you'll be able to trade these. So people ask about interoperability. How's that going to work? Well, how did the internet work, right? So are you going to be able to pull up a browser and not get to some certain website? Well, that website's going to die. Do I think that Disney and DC and all these people want their IP to die? No. So I'm not really worried about interoperability right now, because I know that it'll work itself out. And then you look at what Zuckerberg's doing, man. Yeah. And people are like, oh no, Meta, no, it's bad. Guys, it's money being poured into the market that you're investing in. How is that bad? Tell me how that's bad. Now, do you not want it there? I get that. Okay, that's your choice. Then don't participate in what they're doing. But can you stop a multi-billion-dollar company from pouring billions and billions of dollars into a space? No. And it's not just them, it's Microsoft too, right? So all of a sudden you have Veve in the middle of something where money is being poured into, and people can't get in fast enough. And the reason why there's not more people on the platform is because Veve doesn't want more people on the platform right now, in my personal opinion, because they're still trying to build out the tech. They're trying to hire the team. They started with 7 people, right? You start with 7 people in the middle of COVID, and you can't raise money because you can't fly out of the country because of COVID, and they pull it off. They said, David said that their investor said, just go ahead and launch it, see what happens. Wow. And then that was that was it, man. And they launched it, and then we're like, oh, there's all these problems. Reese was a part-time cook. If you listened early on, he was like a camp cook or something, like part-time, and he was working Veve, and he worked it for a while, right? And so these OGs, the ones we call OGs, on the app, on Telegram, and these different groups, a lot of them were early investors in a Veve, and they found the ICO or whatever it was early on. I think it was 2018, and they invested early. And so, guess what they're doing? They're buying in the app, right? And they're spending their money and their winnings, so to speak, or their profit into Veve. And I know a lot of these guys, and they're not stopping. Like they're not stopping. Like, oh, I got enough now. Yeah. No, they're just shoving, and they're using their leverage to keep shoving and keep getting leverage, because it's sort of like one of those things. If I think of other NFT projects, which I am invested in other stuff, but if I think about other NFT projects, I have to I can't sleep at night. The same kind of feeling as Dogecoin. Like, what's going to happen with this project? Is it going to pump? Is it going to crash? With Veve, yes, there's cycles. Yeah, Todd was at 2K. Now he's at 1,400, 1,500, whatever. But I know long term that he's the right, he's the right major investment in my portfolio, right? So
Right.
he's the one I went for because when I came on the app, all these guys were sporting Rizzos and they were showing off their showrooms like 15 Rizzos. And I'm like just trying to get one Rizzo for like $4,500, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
I was the same boat as you. Like, as I came in on
yeah,
March 9th, and I was like, okay, what's the next best thing?
yeah,
Oh,
what's the next best thing? And so then, I saw Joker FA, I saw Todd FA, or Batman FA, and then Harley FA. Those are kind of I saw as kind of the three pillars. And it still surprises me on something like Joker FA, which, you kind of get the hints of the fact that they were $79.95 for Joker FA and Todd FA. And, Harley Quinn was $59.95. That's kind of a hint like, hey guys, this is the one. More than Rizzo, right? Costs more than Rizzo.
right.
And I think that a lot of people were just like, oh, there's plenty, like it's cool. And so when I spoke to my family about it, I said, look, you need to put money in this now and you need to go buy Todd. Just go buy this. You buy anything, buy Todd and buy as many as you can get off the store retail price. And they're like, $80. I don't know. And so I think part of it was that, they saw how excited I was about this. And so they kind of rode that wave with me. But then obviously, they also bought some Omi. And I think at the time, Omi made a run to 1.3 cents. There was a lot of hype. BitBoy did something on YouTube. There was just like a lot of hype early on. And, it came crashing down 90%, right? So if you buy at a penny and it comes down as 0.011, you're a little concerned. Was I concerned? When they came to me, I said, look, dollar cost average, dollar cost average is your friend. This is an opportunity. This isn't, but could go down more. Absolutely. It could go up. It could go down. This is all at risk. Play with what you're willing to play with. But I'm telling you right now that this is life-changing possibly for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that to them because I did the same with my friends. I called them up and I was like, listen, best golden opportunity of your lifetime. If this isn't worth $1,000 by the end of the year, one of these Todds, I'm like, I'll give you $500 back for your investment.
yeah, what you should have said? You just said, hey, I'll buy them from you for double, worst case.
Yeah.
And, just hold them for me if you don't mind. My neighbor, I was getting into Veve pretty hardcore. And like I said, I had met some friends on Discord and we were doing trades and, we were just pumping each other up, supporting each other, giving each other tips. Hey, go buy this, go buy that, go do a trade here. Because again, all off app, doing trades with people you don't know, in rooms somewhere, you don't know who you're talking to, where they're at, like, and then, you got to send first, like, okay, I guess, you got to take a risk, right? But I was pretty hyped up, and this is like, I think around right before Todd sold out. And I was talking to my neighbor next door who knows nothing about anything about crypto. And I said, hey, look, you need to just do this right now. You need to go download this app and you need to go buy Todd and Joker and whatever else you can buy. Spend like $4,000, spend $2,000, whatever you can. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it right now because I believe in you. I said, okay. So he went and bought like 25 Todds, right? He maxed out his account on Todd and whatever Joker was, and he capped it out. And then, he's just sitting on it. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, no. He's like, it's not the time to sell. I'm like, no, absolutely not. So, he's just chilling, right? And he's gonna be doing my backyard. He's a construction worker, so he's gonna be doing. I'm sorry, let me say that again. He owns a construction business, and I'm probably gonna hire him to do my backyard and my landscaping and stuff. So I see that as sort of like, hey, here you go. Who hooked you with those Todds again?
Yeah, exactly. That's $30,000 of extra work for me. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah. And it's amazing the opportunities that people had early on. And the crazy part is how small it is. Because if you're telling me that you bought up all those Todds, I bought up a bunch of Todds, your next door neighbor did, my friends, we're already probably at like at least 1% to 2% right at the beginning, just between the two of us informing people, which is just crazy small it was at the time.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. And the friend that I kind of like we were like hand in hand every day, literally calling each other every day. Yeah. He matched me on my Todds. So he matched me. Now his Todds are a different number now, but like, trust me, he's still a major player in the Todd market. There's some people that still, have, a decent amount of Todds. Now there's some concern about that. I've seen posts where people are like, oh, this is, they see I have 150 Todds. Oh, this is a big risk. No, am I going to floor all my Todds and drop them on the floor? I have a large investment in Todd. Why would I do that? How does that make any sense? So, like if I've held on this long, why would I just do that? Now for Disney week, again, this is an epic week.
Yeah.
The way I see this is there's 4,333 wallets. Okay. That's the choke point for all these NFTs. And so if you think of that as being the key and you think of collectibles and you think of keys, the first key is Walt. So Walt at 4,333, and you start going on Twitter, you've got two, I got three. I'm going to buy my fourth here tonight. My friend has three. I've seen accounts with 10 and 12.
Right.
So you think about that and you think about how many possible golden moment sets could there be, right? And the way it works at coins is very similar. There's only so many because people are trying to hoard and stack. So I would estimate there's probably going to be about 1,000 unique individuals that will be able to complete that set, which I've already completed. So I'm happy about that. And I'm working on completing my second one and adding additional wallets because they're the key, right? So it's a long-term hodl, and I'm just diversifying my portfolio, which it's my right because I've invested quite a bit of money into the app, 6 figures plus. But my strategy was really go for the key pieces. And so if you look in the app, you look at what are the ones that really stick out. Spider-Man sticks out to me quite a bit. Now everyone talks about the ultimate animated, but if you look at the common Spider-Man, he's sitting there with a 0.5% of his supply on the market at 130. Now he's moved lately. I think it's 140 maybe. But I mean, amazing, right? Because that's the same skin that they use for the ultimate animated. It's the same model, right? So for you to get the first Marvel drop and first technically Disney company drop, right? it's not Disney branded, but it's a Marvel company.
Yeah.
For you to be able to get that drop for $100 and something right now, in the most popular pose, and people are just looking at the numbers. Oh, there's 32,000. I mean, it's the same story over and over on all these drops. Right. And I get it. There's not enough gems in the economy. People are pulling gems out of the economy to go to other NFT projects or whatever. And you see that, and we saw that through the crypto winter when, or Veve winter as I call it, where things were down. I mean, Todd was like $400. After he had already pumped 350, like he was low. Now, was I like, oh, I should sell Todd now? No, hell no. I was like, he's not ready yet. Let me just go ahead and close that door and I'll come back next month, right, and see where he's at. So, it's just about having patience. Yeah. And I think a lot of people they want that quick run up. They see those projects, they see the flashes in the pan. But like what I love about Veve is it's a set it and forget it. Like, you can hold on to your season one stuff and you can be like, okay, I'll come back and check in 6 months. And I bet you're going to be pleasantly surprised, right? And this is a long-term hodl situation. And the continued utility that'll come out, from Veve. Like, for example, I'm making stuff up now. So this is nothing's factualized. This is all made up. But imagine if they came out with a Disneyland castle, for example, right? That partner statue, that Walt and Mickey, that there's one in front of every Disneyland castle. What if they dropped the castle on you at an augmented reality, right? You could buy it, right? And the only way you got fireworks in Tinkerbell is if you drop the Walt where you're supposed to go.
Oh shoot! Now we're talking. Yeah.
Think about that for a second, right?
100%. That's huge, and that's the things that we still have to be nimble because those are the type of opportunities that can come through, right? And so my question to you is, what in your opinion is the things that you think is going to matter the most, like long term? Because when I scale out, right, and we talk about Pokemon and all these other different licenses that could come into the app, do you think like Todd and let's say Walt and Mickey are still going to be such substantial pieces that they really will stand the test of time, or do you think you'd have to continue to be nimble depending on different things that arise? Like I think that's the part that Disney, for instance, you had to you took some different positions just because you knew that this was an important opportunity. But do you think there's going to be more and more of that, or do you think you could still hold on to some of those season ones for the long run?
Well, I mean, I think we don't know the full picture, right? We don't know all the utility, but we can guess at some of the utility. I think that things will change, but for me with Todd, he's got his own social like awareness or something. Like he's got people talk about Todd, like people are talking about Todd right now, right? People are like, oh, what's Todd's price? They watch that thing on the market nonstop. They're paying attention. They want to buy something, they stack up their Todds and then they go floor one and then they go try to buy it back later, right? So, I mean, people love Todd because you can go floor Todd and if you price it correctly, it'll sell right away, like no problem, like sold, right? And if it doesn't, you lower it 20 bucks or something, and then it sells, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think people will need to adapt for sure. I mean, like again, like I was like, no, I'm never gonna sell a title. Like I was just sticking to that. But then I'm like, wait a minute. If I look at my position, Todd is a significant amount of my portfolio. So why wouldn't I leverage that portfolio and not having to worry about the fact that I have 147 still, right? Like, okay, I've got 147 Todds. So, you know, selling 3 is not going to hurt me. And by the way, I'll get a walt, and maybe I'll get an extra walt. And maybe if I want, when it's 30K or whatever it's going to be at, I might sell that walt to get a Todd, and maybe Todd will be worth more. And, you know, either scenario, I'm good, but I'm diversifying my portfolio a bit, because I can, right? You know, when you're investing, they always say diversify, but at the same time, what they don't tell you is to focus and to really do your research. And so the thing that frustrates me the most when I talk to people is they want it all without doing the work, right? You know, they don't want to do the research, they don't want to read about it, they don't want to study it, they don't want to find the mints, they don't want to go find the years and dates, they don't want to like do the work. You got to hustle. There's people that come in this app, it's life changing. They've dropped in $6.99, and they get a secret rare on their second drop or even their first drop, and they're literally, their life has changed, right? And they hustle from there, and you go back and you look at their accounts and you're like, how did you do that, right? Like for me, I don't do as much trading. I hadn't been doing as much trading until recently, obviously for Disney week. And this week, you know, it's clear that, you know, the Veve team wants us to they want to shake us up a little bit, because I mean, the amount of drops that came with Disney and Decon was just insane.
Insane.
So there's no way you, I mean, as much as we want to say you want to get it all, and the whales, there's some whales, like I have a friend who got, he's at 75 sets, you know, okay, great, congratulations.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's like not everyone's gonna be able to do that. The majority of people aren't gonna be able to do that.
Right.
So yeah, that, you know, I would say that it's important to be humble, and to, as soon as you think you know it all, you don't know anything. I think that's a really important rule. And to always justify your position, meaning, you know, with Veve, since there was a considerable amount of money, I had to speak to my family and say, hey, look, I'm going to be spending a lot of money here. There's going to be some sacrifices. You know, I'm going to be doing some things, and this is why. But I think that what I'm doing now will make a huge difference down the road for our family. So I'm going to take this position, but you know, you need to have some patience. And that was it. And so, you know, I'm pretty happy with my investment so far and the returns. I can't complain at all. And I'm still investing more, right? Like it's not like, it doesn't stop here. I just get more excited, you know, with what Veve's doing. And they're just like, oh, by the way, USPS, like literally, like, wasn't even a big deal. It's like, oh yeah, first postage stamp. Oh yeah, Disney. Oh yeah, Decon. I mean, it feels like 5 years ago, but it was just like a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And just it's just insane. It's an amazing ride.
Yeah, and that week was, like you said, so intense. I felt like I was at a crooked casino all week. I was obsessed, glued to the app. I think I was
Yep.
having like friggin' heart palpitations at night, just thinking about, you know, what I could trade for this or how I could get myself another Mickey and Walt. But it's amazing now, I find, because there's so many people that are new that are coming in that are still getting that leverage that you and I had early on, because they
Right.
landed a low mint and a drop, and all of a sudden, boom, you're 2K up. Then you're 2K into Walt, and now Walt's at 7. Sell
Yep.
off the Walt, now you're at 10. Like there, you know, so like the thing I love about it is that new users are still getting hooked the same way you and I did back in March, when we had all that opportunity to just buy things at retail, right?
I mean, you think about what Veve is doing, right? Like I bought physical collectibles because of, you know, my NFTs. So I'm sitting next to, you know, I'm looking at a Babs Tar 9.8 comic book. Here, let me pull it up.
That's so cool, man.
Like I got a Babs Tar 9.8, right? That I got off
Wow.
of eBay, signed by, you know, signed by
Way.
the writer. I've got, you know, statues. I got Todd. I got Blue Todd. I got,
I just got
you
a
know,
cause too, because I knew that we might get cause because of that Gamma first video. So I was like,
yeah.
you know, like
I
I
got
could
some
never
cause
do it.
keychains, dude. I got cause keychains. But yeah, I mean, you think about the collectibles market and what Veve was able to do to it, right? Not only the opportunity, as you mentioned, where you can come in and now they have like a loyal fan base. And if you look at, you kind of apply that to tech companies where, for example, Cisco was able to provide opportunities for people that got certified and understood their product, and they had careers. Veve is creating collectors. They are creating collectors on the first get-go for the collectibles community, right? And the collectibles community never really had like a central place to go to. So if you think about decon, what I heard from people was, I didn't go, but what I heard was that Veve was like a mob, right? The people in Veve like were walking around decon as a mob, and everyone was like, who are these people? And why are they so excited? And why are they sharing this app? And they're like literally landed on decon, right?
Wow.
And I heard that the only other people that were like really in any kind of mob mentality were in line to get something, right? But they weren't like walking around in huge groups, right? So, you know, to think of that in the community that Veve is able to build and the social circles that people have now that they didn't have, especially during something like COVID, and I mean, you know, COVID is still ongoing, and you know, areas are dealing with it, and the opportunity where people may have lost their jobs or may have not been able to work, and for them to be able to hustle on Veve. Like I've heard stories of people saying, oh yeah, I got my, you know, this check that I got from the government and I dropped it into Veve, and now I've got like $25,000 of collectibles, right? Like, I mean, it's amazing, right? The opportunities that people have with Veve. And I think that the collectibles community, the physical collectibles community, needs to wake up to what Veve is doing, because, you know, if they're not paying attention, I'm sure they are now, because like all these statues were like the Batman black and white. Yes, people collected them, but they were very nichey in some ways, right? Like people would go to the cons and they were, you know, they go pick it up. But like now Veve is like, hey, we want to bring this to the masses. We want to like show people like whatever your fandom is, we want you to get excited about it and give you utility. So I mean, it's just amazing what Veve has been able to do in a short time with a small amount of resources. I mean, you know, David Yu is solid. I've chatted with him personally. He's a cool guy. You know, Dan, the whole team, you know, Reese is solid. He's helped me out with some tech issues early on, and now, you know, obviously there's a real support team now. But like, you know, these guys were like, these were Apple in the garage. People don't understand where you're at. If you think of a hockey stick, you know, and you're Canadian, so you can get this, but you know, if you think of a high stick, we're way to the left on the bottom of that chart. We're like, if you look at Amazon for, you know, we're way at the bottom of what's possible and where we're going, and Viviverse and land. And you know, someone said, oh, Disneyland's going to be building their own metaverse. Well, yeah, of course they're going to build their metaverse. Did you see how hard they got hit during COVID? They had to shut down Disneyland for like 9 months or something. Like, I mean, this is an opportunity for them, right? And for them to be tied up with Veve, and people are like, oh, well, they're going to do their own thing. It's like, well, it doesn't. You know what? Okay, look, you can't predict the future, but I can tell you that Veve is executing. Right. Now, do I think that when the Simpsons drop happened, that Disney came to them and said, oh, this sucks? No, they said, how can we help you? You use AWS as a backend. Hey, we have an AWS account too. Let us call our people. Let us help you turn up that dial. Let us help you fix a problem with your third-party provider. And then the next day, problem solved, right? Like, you think you don't think that Disney has some power and reach with their, you know, with their pockets? I mean, you know, people have to understand how the business world works, and how, you know, Disney is here to stay. It's obvious. They're not going anywhere, and you know, they're to be reckoned with. I mean, they have 70% of all the collectible items, like characters and stories, you know, in the market. So like, why would you not bank behind Disney? Tell me that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be impossible not to. I mean, if you had any kind of common understanding of how everything operates, this is a very, very safe bet indeed, right?
Yeah.
So here's a little bit of controversy for you. I'm going to talk a little bit of specifics on the drops. So this week I threw out a few videos, and I was talking about Disney being or Simpsons Homer and Bart NFT being the first of the Disney license. Yep. But then the Walt Disney Animation Studios was Elsa and the Mickey Sorcerer Hat. But then there's also people speculating on, well, if you go as far to say that The Simpsons was the first Disney thing, then you have to then say Marvel was. So, I mean, I think they're all important, but I guess my question to you, if you take Walt and Mickey out of the equation, is there any there that you think long term would be really worth your while if you had to choose, or do you think they're all do well in their own right?
Follow the fandoms, right? Spider-Man obviously has a huge fan base. There tends to be this theme, and Disney apparently tends to coordinate things. And guess what? There's a movie coming out, right? Like there's coordination happening, and the quality of that NFT just blows me away. I look at the quality, like what did they pour their heart and soul into? Elsa to me sticks out of the crowd, as being a very very special NFT. As far as like which came first, I think Disney played it right. They said, look, we're going to pick some things, and we're not going to have we're going to spread it out a little bit, and we're going to have the Simpsons, and the Simpsons fan base is nothing to be messed around with. There's a huge Simpsons following, right? And they've been on TV forever. So I think they were just kind of warming up the engine. If you think of a movie or you think of a good story, like for example, Up, right? When you think of the movie Up, there's ups and then there's downs, right? And so for you, they kind of ramped up the week, right? And they went all the way to Walt and Mickey, so it was kind of like this crescendo, and it was like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
so it was like a story, right? And I think that as far as the first NFT, well, you got the first, Disney princess right there, being dropped, the first actual character. And I actually didn't think the hat was a character, but then when I spoke to my family that are really big Disney fans, they made it clear to me that the hat is a character, and there's some
Interesting.
shows where the hat moves around, and and people wear hats, and it's a big deal. I'm like, okay, I just didn't get as excited about the hat because I looked at it, I'm like, okay, it's a hat.
Right.
Now, if it comes to life and all of a sudden, I can watch Fantasia and like something happens, then I guess, I guess there's that. But for me, also, I looked at the detail of the dress. I looked at the Easter egg in the shoe. Something's going on.
Yeah.
Someone was on site at Decon, and they asked Trevor, "Hey, what's up with the pen?" And he's like, "It's not a pen." And then he said, "Well, what is it?" And he's like, "I can't. I'm not saying anything."
Wow.
So
That's a
that's
good
that.
little
Yeah,
Easter egg. Yeah.
that's enough, right? Like it's something, right? And but he acknowledged that it exists. So anyway, there's a lot more stuff popping out, right? So I think that um, just get the set if you can. I mean, at the end of the day, and then of course, Star Wars has its own huge following, and there's a comic book collectors, that are like, hey, Star Wars is it, and that's the way to go. But like the way I see it is like the prices right now, these items, yes, they've pumped, but like if you think about it, to be the very first R2D2, the very first C3PO, the very first Elsa Disney princess, I mean, this set is gold, literally golden.
Yeah.
So if you have the means to complete this set, by all means, complete the set, right? Because um, it it's just epic, And I think because we're so close to VV, and because we're in this every day, we're just like, okay, it's just another drop. But like, no, 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 it's not. This is Disney's first likeness of Walt, first Mickey Mouse NFT in front of the castle of every Disneyland on the 50th anniversary, where they have golden statues all over the parks. I mean, this is very well coordinated. I mean, it was planned out way in advance, and this is by design. And you're welcome for being here. And somehow we're blessed for being here, right? At the end of the day.
We're so blessed. And, first of all, I want to thank you for telling people to complete that set, because I do agree as well that that's such a monumental set and it's so important. And I just think of like, what is the future utility of this? Like, does this mean we're going to show up to Disney World and be like, here's my C3PO, scan it, welcome, put on your augmented reality glasses, having even a better vision of what other people are seeing in the real world. And then you're seeing all this extra stuff. Like, there's just
Yeah.
so many things that could come from it. But like, and the one thing that I love about it is like these things are just not going to go away. Like, you can't take them off the blockchain at one point, or they can't like recede from the digital realm. Like, as as being a collector like yourself, like all the stuff physically, it's subject to wear and tear. It can go missing. It can get lost. Like, there are
Yep.
just so many uncertainties, as I find with this stuff, despite the value maybe going up and down. That NFT is always going to be there, right? And that's the thing
Yeah.
that I love about it too. And they're so cool to put an AR. You're totally right about Elsa.
Yeah.
Like, up close, the amount of detail is absolutely insane. And now that you're telling me this little thing about that potential pen or whatever the heck it was in the
You
shoe,
saw it, right? You saw it in the
oh
shoe.
my God. I literally, like, I thought at that point it was going to pop off. And then somebody else said that the file size, which I think was just, totally speculative, but they said the file size was so big compared to a lot of the other NFTs that they were
Yeah.
thinking that it would like have a voice box and then it would like sing that song Let It
Well,
Go or
actually,
something.
to follow that, because I am on the spaces a lot, right? And so I gotta give it to the spaces community. They are rock solid. There's people on there that are there for the people that are new. They're helping them get online. I mean, they're like, the community is really amazing. And on Spaces, someone pointed out that like if you look inside of Elsa's head, there's a voice, there's actually structure inside of her, like for her mouth in the back and behind the eyes. And so, to think that the Elsa wouldn't sing, I mean, I'm just at this point making stuff up, but like to think that Elsa could sing wouldn't surprise me. If all of a sudden, she's singing like the number one song that everyone's been singing, my 4-year-old's been singing all the time on the drive to school, right? So,
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of utility, and Vivi's made it really, really clear they will continue to bring value to the collectibles. David himself has said that we will continue to bring value to the collectibles. What does that mean? That means adding utility, adding features, adding capabilities. If I could use my gold set to get on a fast pass ride at Disneyland, or get in front of the line, or maybe I get one dinner at Club 33 or something. I mean, they're probably not going to do that, but like to think about what's possible, because it's all about the experience for Disney. Like it's a very curated, experience. You go on a tour or something like that. They really like they really pay attention to that level of detail,
Right.
and they want everyone to have that experience. So like I think that Disney is going to go back. Personally, I think they're going to add some kind of utility for their golden set holders someday, and they'll say, hey, you were one of the first ones to buy our first NFTs. You believed it, you were there first, you're the most loyal fans. Or maybe you had the opportunity like us, right? Or maybe we are the most. I mean, some of those Disney fans are insane. Their collections. I met a Haunted Mansion fan that I sold something to on eBay, and he had like pieces of the ride and stuff. And
Oh
I
my.
had sold him a Cheshire cat, those vinyl Cheshire cats. I don't know if you've seen them, but they were they're made back in the day. And I had a 1 of 50, right? And so I bought it for like $400 when I saw it on eBay, sat on it for a year, and then put it on the market, and then I sold it for $2,000, right? Like, so, but it was to the right collector, right? At the end of the day, but those collectors are insane, right? Like they don't mess around. Like John Stamos, my sister-in-law was telling me, he's got the deed to Disneyland, he's got a car for Dumbo, he's got, these guys don't know about VV yet. I mean, they might, but they don't. And like you were saying, you were telling me earlier about collectors coming in the app. I mean, people that are just pouring money in. I mean, we see it. The OGs, we have our own discussion groups, and there's people that are spending lots of money to get those early low serial numbers. They're doing big deals for crypto. They're doing some interesting things.
You're
Um,
and some big deals. Like I was
yeah.
thinking about, like, some of your sub 100s, like I know now, because there's, and the cool thing too that a lot of people don't know that you would know is that they took the first 16, I believe, at first, not the
Mhm.
first 40.
Right.
So there's some 17s to 40s out there.
Dude,
I'm not
I
sure.
was in a chat, and this guy had like Todd number 26 or something. And
Right.
so he was like, this is an OG chat. And he's like, hey, just check in. What do you guys think this is worth? And we were just like, and he got an instant offer for like $35,000 in crypto right there. So, like, he's like, oh no, I was just checking. I'm good.
Yeah. Just wanted to see what it been birth. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean it makes sense, right? Because there's just so few of them. Like I think that Marceline and a few others had the same kind of thing happen where there was only 16 taken, but then now it's 40. And the thing that excites me is what if it's like 100 in the
Mhm.
future? And then
Yeah.
we're seeing our like 140 mints now being, so like almost like the equivalency of like an 80 mint as an example. So that's where I just keep thinking expansion, right?
Well, I mean, we're seeing that happen right now, right? So the next comic drop, right, that's dropping this week, the mint 70,000, right?
That,
So I
that
mean, we're seeing that happen because people are, at the same time they obviously did decon and things were highly collectible, and I went in the store and I bought the pop art. I love that pop art print.
oh yeah,
Um,
so cool.
I bought that. I got a 46 really cheap. I mean, $1,000, and then I got the 666, the last one, for like 1.2, right? And so now I have it relisted for 8.8. So if someone gives me 8.8, please buy it, and I'll go buy some more waltz. But like for now, it's available. But like that's pretty cool, right? To be able to have that opportunity early on to go find those mints you want, or to get those key mints. I'm kind of like a value mint hunter, so I wouldn't say I would spend any kind of money for any mint, but I look for value. So I try to arbitrage the mints, because people are paying attention to the floor a lot, but they're not paying attention to the mints. At the end of the day, the way that these collectibles are really being rated by the community, and I say the community because they've been looking for a way to differentiate, is by mint number, right? Because that's what people are using. And special mint numbers. Like I like to collect special mint numbers, like 888 is one of my favorite mint numbers to collect. I got 888 Todd, for example, and I bid that at auction because, for a few reasons, right? One is I just love the number. Two, China's going to come online, right? So do we not think that, let me think about this for a second. Do we not think that China is going to come online and they already have the language localization done? So they just haven't turned it on because, again, in my opinion, they're scared of this thing falling apart. So they want to make sure, in some ways, we're still beta testers, in my personal opinion, as we continue to build the technology. So, they turn that on and the app will just get crushed, right? Like literally just crushed, because right now you got people in China under a lot of pressure to get out of their crypto, get out of their Bitcoin. So I can go open an account on Veve with an email address and then get that crypto and maybe do some trades and then get in the app, maybe buy some gems, maybe do something, right? And figure it out. And then all of a sudden their crypto has turned into Veve that's kind of like probably not under the eyes of, the government. And then they're able to, they say, okay, let me just lock that account away for a few years and let it sit on Walt because, I know Walt's good. And they do that in Canada, right? You see that in Vancouver. I'm sure you see it where you're at, right? Where they go and buy a condo and nobody lives there, right? Or they go buy a house and nobody lives there.
Right. Wow. That excited me because the reason that I say this is so exciting is that, when you and I joined, I thought I was early then. And now I feel like I'm not early. And I sold some stuff off and I got a few waltz and I feel vindicated.
Yeah.
But, just with your whole kind of analysis with China, I'm like, wow, like to think that like Walt's, amount of editions, like 4,333, would one day be so scarce that they couldn't even believe that editions like that were being minted on the, the total size of where this company is going blows my mind. And so do you believe that potentially Walt could be, the golden goose of Veve so far, or do you think it, because I'm like you, I have a similar collecting strategy. I just collect things that I think will matter long term. Todd, Superman, Secret Rare Spider-Man, Givenchy Pride being the first ever commission, all that stuff. And I'm just trying to make a bet in my head. Okay, which one do I think is going to be the most? And then looking at Walt and Mickey, both FAs. Walt was one of the top 100 or 1,000 most influential figures of all time. And it's like, and then you have Mickey, which is like the second most popular character. Then you have Disney. I just like, to me, that's just mind blowing how, insane of an NFT this might be, man.
It's a gift, right? It's literally a gift to the community. Like, here you go. Here's a gold brick. Take it. Do you want to take it, or do you want to sell it for 2.5K or 3K or 4K or 5K? Like, here's a gold brick.
Yeah.
And I think that it's historic. We're so magnified, we're so close to it that a lot of people can't zoom out and start thinking about the future. I actually went out and bought an Oculus Quest 2 for $300 to just understand where the future is going, right? And so, Facebook has this thing called Horizons Workrooms, where you can meet with people and there's speakers on both sides of your ear, right? And in virtual reality, you can kind of see their avatars, and you can chat with them like you're there. And you can pull up a whiteboard and you can type on your real computer, but you're looking at a virtual keyboard and you're looking at a virtual screen, but it's your real, like you're typing using, it's wild, man. And so I played around with it and I realized, yeah, so the new office is going to be virtual. You might be talking to, OGB, like a stick of butter, right? Or you might be talking to a pickle or something, and that could be your coworker, but the thing is, it's creating opportunities and jobs. The ability to be able to tap into the talent from around the world. You look at what Axie Infinity has done for the people in the Philippines and people around the world, where now they're teaming up and they're making money where they weren't able to make any money, and they're making money through playing games. You think about, in a way, Veve is a game, right? And people are playing the game. And I looked at my iPhone too. Trevor had mentioned something about the stats. He said the stats for Veve are just insane. I've seen stats before in games. You know how Trevor is. He's just like just went nuts. And he's like, but he couldn't say anything about the stats. But he was just like, they're just off the charts. right? And so you think about that, and I just look at my phone and how much time I spent on VV, you know, in any given week or day or whatever, and how much, you know, like how much time and energy I am like hustling, buying, selling, or whatever it is. And it's a game, it's a strategy, it's a chess game, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like we're trying to figure out okay, we got our gems. Do we stick them in Walt? Do we stick them in Todd? Do we stick them in Spidey? Well, the answer is yes. You know, the answer is yes. You stick them in everything. So for example, all our wallets are going to be pretty transparent here pretty soon. But like with Spidey, like on the drop, I maxed out. I hit the 50 limit. I said, okay, I'm buying all Spidey. And Spidey dipped down to like 25. Did I say, oh man, I screwed up? No, I dollar cost averaged and I kept buying Spidey. So I've got about 140 common Spideys right now, right? Like, so, okay. And it's the same strategy as Todd. I saw it as Todd 2.0, right? So you have to find those opportunities, and people just go, oh yeah, he's just at, $75 or $85. Like that's the same thing that's where Todd was, right? Oh, he's in the store, he's available. Like I'm paying attention to Rizzo's it. Well, I personally see something like Todd surpassing Rizzo, as much as no, Rizzo's awesome, like no doubt. I For me, what got me excited about Todd and what got my attention specifically was McFarlane, right? So this is Todd McFarlane. Everyone knows who McFarlane Toys is. I mean, well, not everyone, but the collectors do. And you do your research on who Todd McFarlane is and the fact that he has a relationship with VV, and I think he's also doing DC Direct now or something.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I don't know all the connections there, but that tells me if Todd McFarlane's on board, or at least his licensing agency's on board, and I saw the quality of that piece, and I said, why is everyone like over here when this is the winner, right? Like this is the one. So that was like that would going answering your question earlier, that was my strategy. And not only that, but it was value, right? So I could get him for $80, or I could go try to buy a Rizzo for $4,000, $5,000. Like, what's going to give me a better ROI, right? So what's going to give me a better ROI right now? Is it going to buy a Spidey Common, or should I go and buy something a lot more expensive? Well, yes and yes. It depends like what your position is. But if you're starting off in the app and you just walked in, there are opportunities everywhere. Like you can go take a Mermicorno or Unicorno market down. You and a few buddies say, hey, we think Prima is the one. Like I have 75 Primas, right? Like, because if you look on eBay, the physical Prima is like $600 to $800, right? That's like the one that everybody wants.
Everybody tells me
So,
about this. It's like the most popular one. And see,
yeah,
that's smart. Exactly. And that's the
yeah,
amazing thing. Like, I got a buddy that's all into the Marvel comic number one's the common with the original
yeah,
cover. It's worth 1.3 top grade in real life. And he just stocks up. He's like, every time I have a bit of extra gems, he's like, you throw it in a common. And
yeah.
he's comfortable, but he's very modest with his investment. But he's really making moves in that little arena. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
like long term, that's gonna matter to people. The first ever comic on Veve, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they brought up the augmented reality utility, and I think some people were like, "Oh, this is cool," but they wouldn't really kind of connect the dots and realize the investment that's happening, right? So if you think of virtual reality, like you were saying earlier, glasses and the experience of going to Disneyland, or what if you could go to Disneyland at home, right? And you could do it in virtual reality, and you could do it with your friends with their glasses, right? Like, what if I could put my glasses on, and you saw Facebook do this with the Ray-Bans, right? With the Luxottica arrangement they did. These Ray-Bans, they have little cameras in them, but they look normal. Back in the day when the Google glasses came out, people called them glass holes, right? Because they're like, I don't want to be spied and recorded, and right. But now they're getting people comfortable with the fact that you're wearing technology on your face. And then I would say within 5 years, we are playing chess in augmented reality. Like me and you could play chess in augmented reality. I could look at the chessboard, you can see it at your place, and
Right.
we're playing, right? Like this is where it's going, and why wouldn't it go, right? Like the phone, it's a dinosaur. This thing's like 14 years old, right? When the iPhone came out, that it's painful. It doesn't help me. It becomes a burden. It's an anchor.
Yeah.
So the technology, we're ready for that next shift.
Yeah.
Put the glasses on, have the assistant. I talk to you, Chad, identifies your face. It shows me your Facebook profile. Yeah, if you want me to see it, right? Like, I get DeFi and all that stuff, and people are like, no, we don't want to be monitored, but it's happening right now. Anyway, I work in computer security, so I won't talk about the stuff that I know, but let's just say, like, you're being monitored. You're carrying around a phone, you're being monitored.
Right, right. It's an amazing point you make too, because like when I look at my phone, I'm like, I always think to myself, if this didn't have a screen, I would be looking at an object 12 hours a day, this
Mhm.
close to it. And it's so scary to think that. And I'm like, it's just not immersive enough where, like I think about like my kids or future generations, and I'm like, they're gonna be able to walk and talk with, virtual reality and things in their space. It's going to be very healthy, I find, technology in the future. It's not going to be confined to these little boxes and these little objects. And
Yeah.
that's the part that excites me. And that's why when people, don't understand the utility of an NFT, I'm like, but you gotta, it's not now. Like, this is the whole reason we're early adopters. You gotta look four,
Yeah.
5, 6 years in the future. And that Walt and Disney statue will be in your house when everybody walks in with their glasses, greeting you at the front door. One
You
of
look at it,
4,000 editions, right? It's
and
like,
you got Disney backing you up, right? Like this is epic. I
yeah,
mean, I was an early investor in a company called Zybernaut, which they went under, but they made wearable technology way back in the day. They were way too early, but the idea with them was wearable computers, like they could do inspections on bridges and things like that and record it. But I really believed that that was coming, but it was just the technology wasn't there. But
yeah,
now you look at kind of where things are, and I could wear a pair of glasses that pretty much look normal pretty soon, and I'll be able to, nobody will know the difference, right? And so I think that that's kind of where we're headed. And when that happens and it gets accepted by society, and there's utility, right? People get additional advantage. They're not on their phone all the time. They don't have to look at their phone. They can just see it right there. They got information coming into them. That's the advantage. And so when you think of that and they're living in that world, what are they going to want? They're going to want their stuff. They're going to want their Batmans and their statues, and they're going to pull them out and share them with people, like they're going to do all kinds of stuff. So I think the utility is super early for Vivi right now.
yeah.
And I think people need to go watch Ready Player One if they want to go see the future. That might be to an extreme, obviously, but that seems like that's what Vivi's roadmap is. And a lot of the pieces in that movie are actually in the app, right? So like the DeLorean, you can see that right center stage in Ready Player One, and then here we got a DeLorean as one of the first season one collectibles.
Unbelievable. And it's unbelievable seeing the comeback of that common DeLorean when we didn't have many people on the app at first, and people were like
Yeah,
laughing, being like, who mints, 50,000 editions? And in the
yeah,
future, that's going to be a pretty good run. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
that freaks me out. I'm like, wow, Secret Rare might be 14,000 editions in the
I mean, the
future.
Ultra Rare has some action. I think the Ultra Rare is up to $600 today.
Wow. That's wild, eh?
It was 300. I mean, so the economy kind of got sucked with with last week, right? You kind of saw this gem suck and prices just drop, and then right after a drop, prices would jump overnight, and then they would suck again, right? Like so, the cycles were really fast because people are just gem strapped, right? Like there's only so much money that people are willing to put in, and Omi's kind of just chilling there and kind of looking at you, going, okay, yeah, I'm Omi, but like that's all I am right now. Wait for me to get on some exchanges, wait for this to like blow up, but otherwise don't expect much from me, right?
Yeah.
And so people see Omi pump 10% and they're like, ah, and they go nuts. And it's like, just relax, guys, don't look at it every day. And for me, I had some decent bags of Omi, and I said, I'm gonna take some of those bags, a majority of those bags, and buy collectibles, because at the end of the day, when they said they're gonna allow, Omi to collectible to Omi, I saw it as like the same at that point. I said, this is, in fact, I have an asset that people with Omi are actually going to want to come and acquire when their Omi goes up. So, like, if you think of the gold rush, who made all the money in the gold rush, right? It's the guys that sold the axes and the picks, and they had the inventory, right? So I've always told my friends and family, inventory is king on VV. If you can find inventory at a low price, don't question it. If you like that IP, you buy it, because other people will like that IP as well. And so if you can get it half off tomorrow, and then this week see it go for double, which is actually happened on a lot of these collectibles, right? Like Elsa's at 200 and change, and now Elsa's at 700-800, right? It's like people are like, how did that, like, guys, this is, everyone was waiting for Walt, right? They had all their gems loaded in their app, and then when they couldn't score a Walt and they saw the prices on Walt shoot up, they want the next best thing, and that's Star Wars, and that's the right move, right, for people to take if they can't get a Walt. But like, this is all obvious. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I felt like I've almost predicted every single thing that's happened before it's happened. And so it's just part of that is doing research, understanding the market, paying attention, right? People want the ROI from this like they would a stock. Well, then do the research that you would a stock. Do the homework. Do know what you're buying into, so you're confident. So when the markets crash like they do, you'll be fine. You're like, okay, well, right now this isn't the month to sell. It's not that you lost that money. You don't lose something if you don't sell it, right? But as long as you buy at the right price, that's the key. So to buy Spidey when he was $26 on the market and he's just being crapped on, or to buy, you know, whatever Todd when he's being kicked down at $500, that was a good move, right?
Yeah. And it's hard having the thinking where, there's FOMO and then you got to zig when they zag. So when like, like perfect example, like you were talking about R2D2, 450 before Walt dropped. Now it went up to almost 2K. I think it might have hit 2K or 1.8. And it's just like, wow, if you would have just put your 5K into that, you would have been up like $20,000, right? Almost, or 15,000 from that 5K investment, which is wild.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? Or the guy who bought 12 waltz said he spent $25,000 on day one buying those 12 waltz, right? And so he's like, it says on Twitter somewhere, and he's like, I'm holding this. And I'm like, no doubt, right? I knew people OGs that had 25 Gs just waiting to roll and saying, hey, you know, we think Walt will be like 5K each, so I'm gonna try to get 4 or 5, right? And then they see Walt start off at, you know, 1.5, 2. That window was short, but yes, you know, it's price discovery, right? The market's trying to figure out, well, what is it? People are dropping, like, I just won this, I'm getting rid of it. You know, I was on the Twitter spaces, one guy and his family landed 4 waltz, right, on the drop. Yes, guy named John on Twitter spaces. And I mean, he's got his family using, you know, Align Gate, Click Gate, you know, Space Gate. He's got him trained, right? He's like, hey, look, I got to get off. He spends 10 minutes with them beforehand, you know, telling them exactly, hey, this is how you do this drop. This is what's going on. And then, you know, you time it 3, 2, 1, 0, click, you know, like there's all this stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, but he scored. So, I mean, he did the work, right? You look at Michael Jackson. Why was he so good?
Right. Because he did the work.
He practiced. He practiced the day he died. He was practicing, right? And I get it. He was in pain. It sucks. But, you know, he was giving it 100% all the time. And people don't see that part. They just see, oh, like, you know, like with me, oh, you got 150 Todds. Like, yeah, I've been stacking them for a while. Like, I've been scooping these Todds in the background while you guys are like, whatever. I'm like, give me more, give me more. I'm the guy in the store, like, just put it all in my cart.
Right. See, that's super smart because, and to kind of go into what you're saying, like a lot of people aren't doing that. They're just chasing whatever the big hype is, but not seeing the potential, huge explosion that can happen from some of these things. Like, I think a perfect example you talked about is Common Spider-Man, right? Like the 60,000 editions of the whole thing, the value is going to be dispersed because if you can't get in the secret, you want to ultra rare. If you can't get in that, you're going to go rare. And then people are just going to be a part of it at the common level, which will easily go to a K once you have a lot more people joining. And like that is just perfect. What you said earlier is like anybody that's new comes in, only has $150, boom, you already made potentially a $500 move just by doing that one thing. So
yeah,
I don't know, but at the same time, I got people like holding special mint, like lumpy space princesses or something, I know that like not everything is going to go, tremendously up in value either. And I think not enough people know that. I feel like they just, it didn't get me wrong. If you're in there for collecting, great. Yeah. But if you're in there to make money, I think there are some things that are going to do a lot better than others.
I mean, you're right. That's a good point. I mean, if you want to hustle, right, like you got to think about a couple of things. You got to think about liquidity. Liquidity is very important in the app, right? So you want to buy things that are liquid. And so Todd, obviously being, in my opinion, the number one liquid item at this point, people realize he's the first NFT. He's kind of waking up a little bit. He's stretching his legs. He's like, oh, what's up? I'm here. And then, but he's very liquid. And then you think of like also something like Spider-Man. Well, why common? Well, I didn't get the secret rare in the drop, and it is what it is, right? And so my strategy was like, look, Spider-Man is Spider-Man. This is the first Marvel NFT. I can get the common. I'm going to go for commons because I didn't get the secret rare. I'm going to stack it because guess what? If I have 140 Spider-Man common, then if Spider-Man's $300, $400, $500 and I need to floor a couple, I'm not going to cry, right? Like I'm going to go floor some crappy mints and people will buy them and they'll have an opportunity to get into Spider-Man. And I won't feel guilty, flooring Spider-Man, and I'll have liquidity, which will be available for the next drop, and I'll be in a good position down the road. So you got to think of these as you're buying it. You got to think of the future of what's going to happen. You got to start playing things out, right? Now, the amount of Spider-Man fans around the world, I mean, it's so obvious, and it's the first Marvel drop, and technically, if people want to say the first Disney drop. So if you're worried about like which gold brick is going to be bigger, just buy it, and then buy what you love. If you love Spider-Man or you love Batman, buy what you love. You love Unicorno, Mermicorno, you love, Dragon Girl. I have like 50 something common Dragon Girls, right? And I got, 3 sub 100 mints. I've got, 999, I got 66, I got 59, I got, whatever. Like yes. Am I worried about flipping that? No, because I know that that's a long-term hodl. And, I'm willing to do that because I love that common Dragon Girl. It's just so beautiful. Like the way that they've up that media sparkles and, it's dialed in. And then to hear that, by the way, the Tokidoki CEO, someone saw them this week at Decon or this last weekend, and she didn't even know what Veve was.
Wow.
So he immediately said, hey, download the app and install it, right? But like to think about how early, people have to really understand how early we are. And I can't emphasize that enough, because when you're early, this is what it feels like. It feels weird and awkward. It feels like, yeah, this is what it feels like, right? Like you're gonna have glitches, you're gonna have problems, you're gonna have issues. And Veve is got a plan and they're executing, and the fact that they have the IP that they've dropped already, I mean, for me, like I'm here. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm in. Like I'm sold, right? Because for them to get that license and Alcon and that content, and see what he did with Pokemon, see what he did with Cabbage Patch Kids. You look at his roster of Strawberry Shortcake. I think of Smurfs. There was just like a whole list of things that Alcon has touched and turned golden. And he has the vision. Like he tells a story about Cabbage Patch Kids where he went to the, he's reading a paper, and it was like he says he always looks at the second page. If you watch that interview, and then he found this General Hospital thing that was selling these $600 dolls, and it was like this experience, right? And so he flew out there to go check out this experience, wow. And then he signed the licensing deal with them and made Cabbage Patch Kids. Like, and then we all remember. I mean, at least when I was a kid, it was mania for Cabbage Patch Kids. People were fighting. You go watch the videos on YouTube. People were fighting hand over fist for these dolls that were, in my opinion, kind of ugly. But they had the signature on the back and they came with their own birth certificates. So it was like the idea that they were unique and that they were special, right? And so it was just like this mania over them. And, not to mention Pokemon and was it Yu-Gi-Oh? I mean, people are walking into like, manholes and crashing into cars trying to chase Pokemons, right? Like, it's just, you look at the number one apps, right? Well, Veve, I think, was number one recently.
It's like, where's it going to be when it's like mass saturation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But you're right about the Pokemon. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, there's a store near, like in Toronto where I'm at, and it's called Plus, and it's like has all collector's items, like shoes, shirts, all that stuff. And to go get like the original base set Pokemon cards is like next to impossible. They're like, we might be able to get like one package in for you for like X amount of money, right? And it's like amazing that
Wow.
back in the day, like it was like people could give them to you for free and be like, please, like leave me alone. I've got enough Pokemon cards, right?
Right.
And that's exactly what we're experiencing here. It's like with your Todd story with the common Spider-Mans, we're looking at it now like these opportunities are whatever because there's so much going on and it's like no big deal. But like open your eyes in 5 years from now, you'd be like taking a line of or like a equity off your house to like put it into Spider-Man's, if you knew what it should look like.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, and to think about the collector communities that are rolling in. So like the sneaker collectors are here, right? The Pokemon collectors, the comic book collectors. There's comic books on the app. I mean, there are so many different economies of collectors coming into Veve. And then when they cross by, like, oh, I came in for the comics, but I really want a Spider-Man because they realize what it is and they play with it, or I want a Todd, or I want a this, like that. That's Veve really bringing value to the community, and no other company I see doing that. Like, who else can do that? I don't see, like, does Amazon bring me someplace? No. I mean, even Disney, they bring content, but who brings people together, like, in collectible social circles and gets them as excited as his community is? So, I mean, Veve's bringing so much value, and they do it because they love it, right? People are like, oh, they locked up their tokens. They did all this. Like, these guys are their integrity is so high. I'm so passionate about the team. I believe in the team. You see Uncle Jeremy trolls the Twitter AMAs and stuff like that. I mean, like, you see the writing on the wall. If you do your research and realize who these people are and how big they are, how big Alcon is, how, just like, if it's going to make it, this is the place it's going to make it. Because if it's not going to make it, then, Veve failed to innovate, but they continue to innovate. They continue to adapt quickly, and I got to give it to them. They delayed the migration to the exchanges because they wanted to get on Immutable, and they saw that as being really, really important. Right. Were people pissed? Yeah. I mean, but people are always going to complain about something. You know, how about the opportunity you have right now? Instead of complaining, how about you realize the opportunity you have that no one else has? And if you don't want the opportunity, then go walk away. There's other places to put your money. But like this, in my opinion, if you make an investment here, again, not financial advice. I'm sure you have that disclaimer on your on your videos, but like you got to think what the ROI is going to be. I mean, because just a $6.99 comic going to a secret rare. I mean, I got a Spidey secret rare on the drop. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I
amazing.
couldn't believe it, man. I got a Spidey secret rare comic on the drop for $6.99. Now I saw it run up to like almost 15, 16, whatever it was, and then come down to whatever it is today. Am I gonna be like, oh, I better sell? No,
Yeah.
no, that is in the vault. That is a story. Like I've got this one. This is gonna I'm gonna show the kids. I'm gonna show grandkids. Hey, I got this on the drop for $6.99.
That's insane, right?
Yeah,
Wow, but good for you for holding too, because I feel like there's like people that just flip almost too often too. They don't understand what
yeah,
they have. Perfect examples like Walt and Mickey, like everyone's selling off for 1.5K, and it's like remind me of like the Homer and Bart NFT going for under retail, and it wasn't
yeah.
like one guy. There was like thousands of them going for under retail.
Because they were pissed. They were like, "Oh, this drop flopped, and I'm walking away from this." You
Yeah,
know, and then meanwhile, like I'm like, okay, I'll get two sets to start off. Like, you know, we'll go there,
yeah,
and you know, I got a great price, right? Because at the end of the day, like whether it's whatever the price is now, I know what I got is very limited and scarce. Whatever the editions are, because it's Disney, it's golden, it's literally golden. Like, I mean, how do you? And Dragon Girl, like even that, like I got 6 golden Dragon Girls, for example, you know, and I FOMO'd a little bit into that. But at the same time, I realized like this is golden, this is perfect for the Asian culture that's going to come online. Like I thought about like that and like the mints that I picked and stuff like that. So, you know, when I see that 1K, do I say, oh, I better sell? No, I'm like, I better DCA. I better pick up another golden Dragon Girl and DCA my position, or dollar cost average that down, right? So because I'm investing, like this is you know, I'm protecting my portfolio, right? And so you would do that with a stock, right? You would do that with other things. So I think that people are just new to the concept of putting money in because they're like, well, how do I get money out? And that's what they keep focusing on.
right.
But if you really get dialed in the community, you realize that you can get money out whenever you want, technically, right?
Yeah.
And you know, there's people, friends, and community that are saying, "Hey, I'll buy some stuff from you," like you know. And there's whales that are like, "Hey, like you know, we see whales that want to say, hey, I made a ton of money on ETH or crypto, and I want to take you know percentage of my portfolio and drop it into Veve, right? And I'll just you know, even if they say I'm going to drop 1% in, but their net worth is tremendous, that's insane. So when we connect up to Immutable and I can connect up my ETH wallet to collectibles, I think, you know, it may not happen right away, but we're going to see some action that we've never seen before because, you know, that community, they spend some crazy, I've seen some whales with like $1.5 million in their ETH accounts go and sweep floors on projects that I'm in. And they'll go buy, things that 1, 2 ETH, they'll buy 15 of them, right? And they'll just scoop them all up. And I'm like, what was that? How did the floor just get scooped up?
Yeah.
And that's just what they do, right? And that's their strategy. And I think that there's some lessons to be learned, like learn the cycles, pay attention. If you're scared about making trades, make paper trades. Do it just like you would do with stocks. Make paper trades and say, okay, I put 1,000 in, I bought this, I sold at this time. Get your instincts dialed in, and then when you feel like you're ready, then jump in, right? Like and start doing it. But I think this is an opportunity that you only see once in a lifetime, in my personal opinion.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that because that's how I feel. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you have these struggles at all, but like my wife and I get in a lot of arguments because of the amount of time that I invest into this.
Yeah,
And it's certainly around my wedding in my home where I had a decision to make was, do I either take some money out and I prove to my wife that this is real, that this is something that can make us money and that, it is a huge future, or do I keep it in and who knows where it goes? And I took it out, and I for the last 2 months I've been just so down. Every day it was like,
yeah.
okay, like because I was a bigger player before, and I had especially with all the YouTube stuff, I was like, okay, like I felt like I had a lot more pull, but then not like being a poser, but I was like, I have to scale back up, and then boom, Disney happens, and I'm like, damn,
Golden opportunity.
and
You're
I'm
in with
so
everybody else, and that's what's amazing about Veve is you could sell out, right? And you can come back in on the next drop and score something or understand the cycles and understand the market and get right back in the game, and boom, you got a position, right?
Right.
So I mean, I get it. I feel like a lot of people don't understand VV, and I think that's in our favor. That just shows how early we are. But if you think of where things are going in 5 years, and people wearing AR glasses and people using virtual reality, and these virtual reality headsets costing $300, which makes it more accessible to people, and the ability to want to really socialize, and I listen to. I'm not a Facebook investor, but I listen to the earnings call to understand the space even more. And when you do your research and listen in, and you hear Mark Zuckerberg talking about how they've been using Horizon workrooms for the last 6 to 7 months in their meeting, and it makes all the difference. Like you're able to remember things better than if you're just on a Zoom conference or whatever. You're immersed, you're fully immersed, and that's the way the brain works. And some of the technology, if you start researching these virtual reality goggles, they make these goggles for fighter pilots, and you look at that and you realize that that's, as they say, near perfect vision or something. I've heard they call it the technology, but for $5,000 you get this stuff that like you can't tell if it's real or fake. And this guy's doing this review, and he said in his review, uh, he had an emotional experience, and he felt like he touched the object, and it felt like he was touching it, but his brain had tricked him that so we're getting on the verge of like this area where we can have these experiences, right? And I think that it's here, and there's a need for it with COVID, right? Like people are shuttered because of this virus. Some people don't want to get their shots, some people whatever, they're scared. There's elderly people. If I can open that up to people that are trapped in their homes, or people that want to be immersed in something and want to have an experience, just go spend $300 and go pick up some VR goggles now and see where the technology is at, and then use your imagination and think where it's coming, and think where the price points are coming, and think of like how it's just like the phone. How did I live without this? That's where we're headed. And the technology won't be like what it looks like right now, like where it's like you're covered. It's going to eventually be like lighter, thinner, seamless, right? And so I think that people need to understand that. And when they understand that, they understand where these NFTs, why they're going to be so valuable, is because if I'm Facebook and I'm in virtual rooms, when I want some licensed content, haven't you ever seen conference rooms with stuff in it? Like, this is the Star Wars conference room, this is the Batman conference room. Like, yeah, hell yeah. And guess what? I'm going to be renting them my NFTs, at whatever price I want to rent them at, and they can go ahead and rent them because they're not going to be able to buy them. Or maybe they will. I don't know. I mean, I envision a time when we won't see things on the market, or where you'll have to do a side deal, or you'll have to like hustle for it because it won't be on the marketplace.
Right. You're totally right. Man, great points. And I even think like corporations now coming into BV and being like investing early. And I know there's talk about some potential investors into the comic books as well. And it's just like, it is a very smart move. And, not to exaggerate, but like I remember when I was thinking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I was like, this is kind of reminds me of like the future of like currency in a sense. Like it's like NFTs are way more fun than just your typical money. There's still a stock, and they move and they do things and they look cool, and like it just makes way more sense. And I can imagine us in a conference room together when they're like, ladies and gentlemen, we have the number 66 R2D2 here today. And you're looking over and it's hello. Yeah. No way, right? And it's but meanwhile, you and I, that's just one of our 10 R2D2s that we stocked up on because we were smart early, right?
We were here, right? We had the position. We were kind of seeing the future. Yeah, I mean, I think that the utility that Veve is going to bring, like they already said, they're going to be able to allow you to rent your NFTs. I think that's huge. Like the way I see it is that's a cash flow for people. People can rent their NFTs and get cash flow, and that'll motivate them obviously to keep their NFTs, right? Because there's utility, and Veveverse and the land. Like we don't know. This is all very, very early stuff. But I think I'll rank somewhere in there in the MCP where I'll be able to buy land. I hope. If not, I'm going to email David you and be like, "What's up, dude?" But like, I hope I'm in the top rank. I don't know. Like again, there's a lot of silent whales out there too, right? That I just kind of was silent most of my collecting time, and I kind of came out because I wanted to be more part of the community.
Yeah.
But and share my knowledge and get the word out, because at the end of the day, people are still understanding. They saw the Disney press releases and they're like, "What is an NFT? What is this?"
Yeah.
And they're fans, right? And we heard, I think on one of the AMAs, we heard the Tokidoki collector. I don't know if you heard that one, but she was pissed. She was like raging because she didn't know about this. She's like, "I'm on every Tokidoki mailing list. how come I didn't know about this? And she was so upset that she wasn't able to get in early on Tokidoki when things were like just at store prices, right?
Yeah.
And they're still pretty cheap though, if you look at some of the unicornos, right? But like, it's just really interesting to me, the fans, because they're so hardcore, they're so loyal, and they're all in. And we haven't even tapped them. We haven't even tapped countries, right? Like China, if you think about that regionalization, why it's so important. Like, would you go download an app in Chinese and try to use it? Like,
Yeah.
would you go download an app in Russian? I mean,
Yeah.
unless you speak the language, you're not downloading it. So they're not, people are like, oh, but China's not here. Like, it's not, people aren't downloading an app in a different foreign language and then trying to buy an NFT and trying to understand the concept. But when we look at China as a country and the amount of money they spend on gaming, right? And you kind of map that over to NFTs, and I really do see the gaming economy has built up the ability for us to be where we're at right now. Then you realize the potential, and that's just one country. Did we forget about Russia? They're going to have localization too, according to So again, over and over and over, as we expand and we're still so early, as much as we want it, we may not want it because it's going to get harder and harder to get inventory, harder and harder to get drops. And I do see some utility coming as well, where people can make offers, right? I like, you have that number that I want. Let me package a bundle. I realize I can see your collection, the number that you need, and let me package a bundle to make you an offer, and we'll do a trade, right? So I do see more trade utility. I see the fact that you can rent your NFTs. The MCP Pro is going to expand. I'd like to see the MCP Pro do something about what people are doing right now with auto clickers and these other things. But
I think that's the hard part for me. Like, I only got one Elsa like in the last week. And so that was like, and that was three phones, my mom, my
yeah,
wife, and myself. And I'm like, and I'm the only one that got an Elsa. And I was like, that was difficult. And that's 30 minutes
yeah,
of passing by now. Sure, that's an $800 opportunity, but it's like,
yeah,
that's the part that the only reason that I'm so involved in the space still is because I know how to scale. But not everybody knows how to do that. So I'm like, if you're a new user coming in and you're only getting one drop or no drops, like I've got buddies that are like, dude, I can't, I'm getting nothing. And then they just get tired of it and like stop. And so that's
yeah.
where I don't know, like it's a very difficult problem because you have to build scarcity for people so that it's valuable, but you can't put, too many editions out there either. And then it is exhilarating to press buy now and not just be in a lottery system. So it's a difficult problem, but they're gonna have to do something because I feel like
Well,
I don't
I mean,
know.
right now there's still opportunity. Like if you didn't get something on the drop, there's the aftermarket, and there's also there's other drops from season one that are just kind of sitting there looking at you, going like, "Yeah, I'm here for $40. Like, come pick me up." So there's like probably 5 collectibles that stand out to me right now. Still, the Dragon Girl season one, the first art piece, and ended season one. The common was a 120 last I checked. Spidey common. He's the first Marvel drop of season 2. Epic skin, like just looks so cool, and that amazing pose for 130, 140. You start looking, and even the Tokidoki stuff, like there's opportunities there if you like unicornos or murmurcornos. The DeLorean was like an opportunity there for a while, but like seeing the ultra rare now at $600-700 is getting up there, but it could still be it's the actual the detail. I think they said it was off of the DeLorean number 3 from the movie or whatever. And like the detail in that is just amazing. So I mean, there's opportunities. Darwin Cook, where people are like, oh, that guy. I bought like, I think I have like 70 something Darwin Cooks because I was like, buy the store. That was my strategy, buy the store. And so he was available in the store last, right? And then eventually he sold out too. But then you look at him, he's like hanging around $50. Well, I can get a Batman for $50 and there's 9,000. As the mints start going up, people will arbitrage and go in and say, yeah, Darwin Cook, absolutely. In fact, if you do your research, he's a Canadian, Darwin Cook. If you like see what's up with him, this guy's an award-winning artist. He's the one that was responsible for that show. I forgot what it is, Batman, the animated Batman.
Okay.
Like his like, people are like, oh, he looks weird, like older. Well, that was his style. Like that was, like people needed to really do their research and then realize that there's actually opportunities now, because what are you going to do when there's nothing to buy?
Yeah, true.
And I think that Veve will solve that problem. But like the season 1, season 2, that stuff will be gone. So when you're at season 10, like you say in your videos, you're at season 10, you're at season 15, yeah, the drops are going to be like, all right, we're going to release, 500,000 of these, or, and it's still going to be probably pretty scarce, and you're still going to be pissed because like you can only get one or two on the drop, and you're like, okay, I got one, but I got, a 15,000 or 500,000 or whatever, 400,000 mint.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't even tell what number it is. It's so long, but like, the thing is, Veve made it really clear that they'll continue to provide, value to the collectibles. So, even if it is big, they may come out of the left field and be like, oh, and by the way, those 500,000, they can do this. And you're like, what? And we're just going to be blown away again.
True, man. Beautiful points. Like I was even thinking about like the FA Joker, FA Harley. Like I'm looking at the mints of those, and I'm like 200 something bucks. And then the
Disgusting.
fees are they're so much better than Marvel and Disney. I mean, you're paying like 2 to 3% compared to 8.5 when it's all said.
Yeah, when you're flipping, right? I mean, there is an advantage on flipping DC stuff or anything that's not 8% at the end of the day, because like and it gives me more reason to hodl those items too. So that's another thing that people need to think about as they look at Spidey Common, which again, last I checked was 0.5% of the supply on the market. And if you think about, well, which ones are reasonably priced, I didn't calculate that, but I'll just say that like there's a lot less than people realize, and they're just, again, it's an opportunity. I'm not telling you to go buy it, but I'm just telling you what I did at the end of the day, and I'll continue to do. I'll continue to add some more Spidey Common as I kind of round out my Disney collection at this point, because that again, that's a golden opportunity. And if Elsa drops to 350, am I going to freak out? No, dollar cost average, buy another Elsa. Like, what if you believed in her at $700? Why don't you believe in her at $300? Right? Like, so, I think that I mean, she was 2 and change, as I said earlier. Like, people had an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to make a move on Elsa and buy 10 Elsas and drop 2 Gs. You'd be in a really good spot right now, right? Any of those, really, any of those, if you bought them at the lows. So these markets cycle, they go up and down. Patience is important. Paying attention is important. Not FOMOing and really understanding why you're doing things. Having a strategy. Paper trade them. Like I said, paper trade them, and mint hunt. There's a lot of people that drop good mints on the floor. We see that all the time. Like it's like a mirage, right? But I can't get it, but it comes out and you're like trying to get it. And if you get a good mint, I see it all the time. People, right after the drops, they'll get a low mint. I try to get it, I can't get it, and then they relist the same thing for like 10 times more, and then they sell it, right? And or they don't, I don't know, but it's like there's opportunities for everyone if you understand and you pay attention. And it's really about how much time and energy you want to put in. So we put it in because we love it. We understand that we're early. We're trying to make a position now, and we know that window of opportunity will switch and change up. But like what we do now will pay dividends, in my opinion. And this is just the beginning. Like you just go on. What is that app that tracks all the NFT purchases? You go look at how much money is being spent on these other NFTs off of Veve.
Yeah, and like you're seeing these projects, 10,000 unique cows with different patches. It's like, come invest in this. They're going for 4,000, and it's like, hey, like what is this, right? And that's what I'm seeing. There's a few people that I think you and I know, like some different celebrities and some different rich people that are coming into the app that are also get this, and they're staying silent. And
hey, more power. Snoop Dogg, he comes out and he's like, hey, I'm I have $20 million worth of NFTs, and then I tweet to Snoop, I'm like, hey, what are you gonna do for us diamond joint holders? Like he sold his little token, his VIP pass on Decentraland, or not Decentraland, was it Sandbox? Oh, yeah. And he's got a whole like penthouse on Sandbox where you can go party with Snoop Dogg, and you can go buy the low riders and the characters, and I mean it's insane. Like he's just getting started, right? We're just getting started. So like the utility, we don't know. And by the way, I bought that NFT directly from Snoop Dogg. Like wow. What other how do you buy something when you look at, if I look at the blockchain transaction, it came from his account, right? Directly to me. Crazy. Like where else can you buy stuff directly from the people that produce them, right? Like, and it's just like the opportunities here are just amazing. Or the Hasbro, I was actually in a spaces and someone said, oh yeah, the Hasbro first, was it Power Ranger? No, I don't even know what I got. It's one of those, it comes with the physical essentially. So it comes with the physical Power Rangers. It's like a dinosaur kind of like thing.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I feel bad because I own it and I don't even remember what the hell it's called. There's so much stuff going on. But I'm gonna get a physical in like 2022, like in the summer of 2022. You know, like I went on the wax thing. I spent the $200 on Hasbro site. You know, and that's the first one of Power Rangers. Okay, great. So I've got a first Hasbro Power Rangers NFT.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm not all, but I'm all in on VV for sure, no doubt. Like, I feel like the majority of my investments have swayed towards VV just because it just doesn't feel as risky. I can sleep at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I stress when, Todd goes up and down? No, not anymore.
Right.
Was my family stressing a little bit? Yeah, because they're just like, hey, what are you doing? Right. Like, but at the end of the day, you got to do the research so you can be confident enough to not be your own worst enemy. And I think that's the case with VV is lock yourself out of your account. If you think, the best thing you can do, like just with coins, if you bought coins and you didn't get rid of them, certain coins, or gold or silver or whatever, and you locked it in your drawer and came back 10 years later, guess what? You're up. And so in general, I'm just saying in general, like, and so with VV, it's kind of the same thing. When I sell something, I really think, okay, what am I buying for this, right? Like, am I buying something that I think is going to be worth more, that I think is going to bring me more? Am I buying just to grab more? And so I really kind of think, okay, for selling the Todd, I haven't sold a Todd at all up until this week, right? And I sold from 160 to 150, but I was stuck at 150 for a long time. And it's really like, I thought, well, yeah, this is an opportunity that VV's brought to everyone again,
Yeah.
that is epic. And so
Right.
why would I not participate in that?
So amazing. Well, my man, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your
Yeah.
knowledge with us. Like, one thing I just want to say is it's so great to finally have somebody with the amount of collectibles that you do and the amount of knowledge that you do, just kind of share your insight with the community. I think it's gonna, really a lot of people are really gonna learn from this, and I think it's a lot of important lessons have been shared, and also a lot of opportunities for people that are coming like new in the app that, like we talked about, can get a common Spider-Man and still look up in a few years and be like, wow, that what a great opportunity that was.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I think in terms of socials, I know that you're largely involved on Discord, right? At VV Army, is that correct?
Yep. VV Army. So that's my Discord family, and then Twitter as well. So Siliconsecure on Twitter.
Perfect. So make sure to check this guy out. Follow him. I've always seen his new tweets and stuff like that, and I've definitely learned a lot. So, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, man. I mean, it's just an honor to be asked to come chat with you and just hang out and talk about NFTs. And this is my passion, my love. I'm all in here. I'm with the community. I'm here to support people, and I'm excited to be part of this epic, transformation that we're seeing.
totally agree. And I totally forgot we were recording. That's how good the conversation was. So, yeah. Oh,
Right
that's great.
on.
Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks, man. All right, have a good one. Take care.
You too, buddy.